Hi, I'm Christina Applegate.
And I'm Jamie-Lynn Sigler.
And this is
Messy.
Hi, welcome to Messy. I'm Christina.
I'm Jamie. For everybody listening, we have a wonderful guest that we're so excited to have join us. She is someone I've admired for so long. She is a stunning performer, a stunning human inside and out who has been outspoken, such an advocate for herself and in turn, millions of other women. She is on one of my favorite shows on television that their season 2 is about to come out, Your Friends and Neighbors. We're just going to get right to it because we have the one and only Olivia Munn joining us today on Messy. Welcome,
Yay,
Olivia.
Olivia Munn.
Hi, I am so happy and honored that you guys asked me to be on this. I just love you both so much. So this is very exciting for me.
Well, likewise. Before we get into all the things we want to talk about with you, you're so good in Your Friends and Neighbors. Congratulations on it. What can you give us or tell us about season 2? What do we have to look forward to?
Thank you so much for saying that. I'm really excited about season 2. Season 2, everything has to be, as you guys know, like bigger and more interesting. And it's hard because the first season, like it starts with a dead body. And you're like, that created just this through line of mystery. And so you're like, how do we keep that intrigue going? And we did so by introducing James Marsden's character, who's kind of like the Count of Monte Cristo who comes into this.
Is he dead again?
You know what?
Is he dead again?
It was
that
so
James
funny.
Marsden.
He and I talked about like how he ends up dead on everything. He was like, I think that's like my thing. I think on Paradise, he's also dead. And so it was so funny because he's like, I guess that's my thing. I don't know if in your stack of papers, you guys know about James and I's history.
A little bit, but please tell everyone that doesn't have a beautiful stack of papers in front of them about that.
So I was born in Oklahoma, and then my mom remarried a man who's in the military. And so we moved to Tokyo, Japan, and that's where I grew up. And at 16 years old, at the wonderful age of 16, I came back to Oklahoma and then entered a school my junior year in high school. And that was incredibly difficult because at my other school in Tokyo, I had like really created a friend group, but I was so involved in high school. I was, class president and I was a cheerleader and I just was really involved and had my friends. And then I come to Oklahoma, which is a state where people kind of grow up together from like kindergarten and up. So I get into this high school and everyone has already clicked up and everybody has their people and the social hierarchy is already established. And I was walking through the halls and completely invisible, like actually invisible, like no one would look at me at all. And I'd get into the parking lot and I would feel this anxiety wave, just come over in waves. And I would start crying. And then I would go into school and I would cry through the halls. And that's when I knew I was invisible because no one was looking at me. I wasn't sobbing, but I was just, you could see that, there's just somebody who's like really trying to hold back tears and with tears streaming down my face. And I would get into my first period, which was Spanish, and I would kind of gather myself. And then like the last 5 minutes of class, I'd look up at that clock on the wall and be like, oh my God, I'm going to have to go into the hall all over again. And then I would start to cry again. And that was like the last time I would cry for the day. But that went on for months. It just was so difficult to go from, feeling like a person to not feeling like one. And nobody asked me to be my friend. Nobody asked me to sit at lunch. Nobody was befriending me except for this one person. Months in, I had switched to a different class. And this one girl asked me to hang out. And her name is Jenny Marsden. And that was, she is the younger sister of James Marsden. And at the time, he was on this CBS show called Second Noah. And when she brought me over to her house, she was like, "Oh, do you want to watch my brother's show?" They recorded on VHS tape, and we put it on, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like I always wanted to be an actor, so to be that close to somebody who had made it was like, wow, maybe this is possible. And anyway, she was my only friend, and her and I would hang out in his childhood room, and she'd be like, "Do you want to go through my brother's things?" And we'd go through. And one time he bought his mom a mattress, and so she was like, "Oh, my brother's buying my mom a mattress. Like we got to go to the store." So we like tried out mattresses together. And yeah, he actually came into town once and took a group of us to Bennigan's. If you're from the Midwest, you know Bennigan's, and then took us to Brahms, this ice cream shop. Yeah. So it was really, and then so years later, here we are in Hollywood. And I had seen him at this party, and I'd been, I'd made my way somehow into Hollywood, and I seen him, and I was like, oh my gosh, I went straight to him, and I was like, "You are not going to remember me, but I know you took me out to Bennigan's once." And he was like, oh my gosh, he kind of vaguely remembered it. And then we just stayed in touch, and it was so crazy because from being in Oklahoma to getting to Hollywood, and we both are in the X-Men universe. And then we, both are now doing the show where he's my love interest. So it's such a crazy full circle moment.
Wow.
That's so nuts.
That is a beautiful full circle. And one you probably would have never believed had somebody told you that this would, be your future. How cool. I love things like that.
And I love James Marsden.
It actually, you reminded me of something. He's the nicest and just the best guy. He's still got the Oklahoma guy in him.
Yep.
I just remembered something that, by you saying something, I remember in school, like my daydreaming at that high school, when we had to do big assemblies, where everybody goes into the auditorium and then there was this big stage. And they had somebody on stage, and it wasn't a person who was famous at all. It was just somebody. And I remember daydreaming and being like, wow, what if James Marsden came to the school and he was like in an assembly and he was there to talk with everybody. And then he looked into the crowd and was like, that's my friend. And then everybody would be my friend.
Wow.
I remember just daydreaming, like, what if that could only happen, I would have a friend. And that never happened.
That never happened. Well, now here you are, and you get to work with sorry, I always have to say the fugly Marsden, because he knows that's like my thing for him. Because he's so not fugly.
He's the furthest thing from fugly.
He's one of the most beautiful men I've ever seen in my life. And I love him with all my heart.
And he looks exactly the same. He looks exactly the same.
He doesn't age. And neither do you, girl.
That's right.
And you've been through a lot of shit, Olivia Munn. You've been through a lot of shit.
Well, that's very nice of you to say.
Before we get into that, I wanted to ask you, because this is something that we ask all our guests, is we like to ask who is little Olivia? Like, if you could close your eyes and look down and see yourself, like your shoes, and see what shoes you were wearing at 8 years old. And, what music were you listening to? What shoes were you wearing? What television shows were you wearing? I just find it so interesting because I can see mine. And mine were K-Swiss that had bullshit shoelaces on them. And I remember like being embarrassed by it all the time. But like, what were yours? What were your shoes? And what was your TV shows?
It's so interesting to have that question be asked, and, immediately, like, you can't help but think about whatever comes in your mind is the first thing that comes into your mind. And like, I think about myself like from 5 to 7 years old. And I remember the oriental carpet that we had, and there's this big circle pattern in it. And I was wearing like a Keds, but like the Payless version of it, like when you go in, it was like, 2 shoes for $10 kind of thing. I was wearing, I see myself wearing the plaid polyester pants and a t-shirt that had Rainbow Bright on it. And my hair, I've always had thick hair, and I hated when my mom would brush my hair because it would hurt. So I wouldn't let anybody brush my hair, and I left like the underneath completely matted and would just brush the top layer so that you couldn't see how matted it was. And the kind of person I was then, I was Well, first, I guess that I was watching Punky Brewster, huge Punky Brewster fan, like somebody on TV that was a tomboy with freckles and dark hair meant so much to me. And then I was watching Gem. Do you remember the cartoon Gem?
Of
Gem,
course,
Gem is
Gem in the
outrageous. Oh,
yes, of
Gem.
course.
Yeah, Gem. And then we were watching Transformers and Rainbow Bright and also My Little Pony and Smurfs. So those are the things I was watching. And I'm raised as one of 5 kids. So when I was 6 months old, my mother and my biological father divorced. And then when I was 2 years old, she remarried this other man who had been my stepfather for 14 years. And my mother had me, who was 2 years old, and my older sister who was 4 years old. And then she married this man who had a 2-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son. So it's kind of like the Brady Bunch, where everybody's matched up by age. And then together they had my younger brother. And I was second to last. I mean, that one sister was the same age as me, but like she was 6 months older. So we, always knew, like at that age, you always know everybody who's exactly, like whatever exact age you are. And so I was like second to youngest, and I'm very, very, very feisty. My mom used to say like, "Oh, you're so stubborn," but I never liked that. I didn't like the label as a very young kid because I just thought like I'm not stubborn. I'm just like speaking up for what's right. And the reason why I felt so angry by that label was because my first stepfather was incredibly abusive and really horrible, and it brought this thing out in me that made me really fight back. And we were hit a lot and by him. And so like I just the I think that
Oh, girl.
when it when it comes to like abuse, I think that for children, a lot of different reactions can come up, and a lot of different personalities can form from that. But my what came up in me was to fight and to kind of brace for the hits, because I was not going to back down. So I mean, from very, very little, like from 2 years old, like being hit, and like so I fought back a lot, and I was very feisty, and I would stand up for my siblings if they were ever hit, and which would then put me in the line of fire. But I just got very tough from that. And I wouldn't say hardened. I was not hardened from it. I created this personality trait, which was like, I fight for what's right, and I will fight as hard as I can, and I will do anything I can or say anything I can to off balance the person who is, hurting us. And that was like, that applied into like school and like things that didn't, like sometimes the crime didn't meet the punishment. If some kid was like, not nice to me, or a teacher said something, like I would just go to that extreme of an explosion just to like do anything I could to shut that person down. So that's who I was, 5 to 7 years old.
Oh, man. You and I should sit down because 5 to 7, I was in this similar situation. So one day we should sit down. And we have other things in common too. But
I would love that.
But I mean, to think about going through a childhood, right? Like having to move around a lot, having an abusive stepfather, having an immigrant mother. I have an immigrant mother, and I can understand sort of like the survival mode, like that's just sort of instilled within you to just keep going. I'm sure, and I know that you've talked openly about how, like you said, these challenges sort of became a place for your courage to show up, and and a lot of your strength and your fearlessness, which I'm sure transferred into your, like, reading about your sort of journey into Hollywood. I was just floored of you just kind of really, fearlessly stepping into arena after arena and nailing it each time, because a lot of times we can get opportunities and we don't show up for them, and you continued to show up. But was there a moment where you ever felt like, oh, I can drop this armor? Or did you ever feel like you were having to always brace and there was a time when you could let go? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a great question. I held on to that armor until I was diagnosed with breast cancer 42, 43 years old. I carried it for a very long time. And I did not even realize.
What year was that?
In 2023, spring of 2023.
Oh, okay.
So it's a very long, I was born in 1980. My mom married this man in 1982. So it's a lot of years of carrying. And I did not realize that I was holding on to that armor. I really looked at it as a strength. And I did understand whenever like that kind of personality trait made its way into the public, I would maybe make some I'd make some defensive jokes that were very similar to like what I would say to like my siblings or to kids, like that was like more abrasive, and I didn't feel like it was childish because it felt a little bit more like what I would say I wouldn't be what a child would say. It would be like what a delinquent teenager would say, and I would just, and so then I would kind of clock that at times to be like, oof, like maybe I shouldn't have said that. But then there's also this thing inside me that felt like powerful to be able to use my voice. And there was 2 times with my stepfather where I would always stand up against him, but there was time where it was like where like one time when I screamed, and another time when I just held my ground in a way that was different than I'd ever done before. And those reactions from him, he had a look on his face that I had never seen before. And it was one of fear and concern for himself. And that moment gave me power. I felt like, oh, when you do this, this is where your power is. And so if I've ever made missteps and spoken ways that were not going to truly at the end of the day be hopeful and effective, I still felt like, yeah, like that's like that's what I do. And I shut you up, and there is no consequence because you'll always know that I'm powerful. And I also felt like if someone did something wrong to me, it didn't feel fair that they had zero consequence. And the consequence was going to be me saying something and calling out every little thing and doing it in such a forceful way that they would know that they did wrong. I did not really factor in that I was not gaining like the real respect that I was hoping to get from that. Like I equated fear with respect.
Yeah,
I was going
that
to
makes
say
a
it's
lot of
such a
sense.
coping mechanism because, when I had cancer, I used, like, I'm a warrior, like I'm the warrior girl.
Yeah.
And, I'd do interviews and then I'd fall into a wall.
Right.
And it was like, it was my way of protecting myself. And I hated that part of that journey.
Support for Messy comes from Veracity. Do you get stressed? If you don't, honestly, I'd be a little concerned. Okay, even if you spent 5 minutes on social media today, you're stressed, which is one of the many reasons why stress levels are on constant alert. And that's where cortisol calming from Veracity comes in. Okay, we're not meditating all day. We're not taking deep breaths all day. Sometimes we need some support. We need an all-natural way to reduce stress. So with Veracity's drug-free, clinically proven, and doctor-formulated solutions, you can support your body's need to live your healthiest life. So if your goal is to stress relief, cortisol calming is for you. This helps you to build resistance and resilience in your body so you're fight or flighting less and you're not having such high stress hormone spikes. It is clinically proven. The results are real. Within 30 minutes of taking it, you will start to feel a reduction in stress and feel more relaxed. And within 3 weeks, you'll get your sleep back in sync and start to feel less fatigue. And that, my friend, is a big deal. So what's in Veracity's cortisol calming? They have natural stress fighters like ashwagandha, rhodiola, L-euthero. I love Veracity because, like I said, it's all natural, it's drug-free with no negative side effects. So calm your stress the natural way. Head to veracityhealth.co and use code MESSY for up to 60% off your order. Once again, that's veracityhealth.co for up to 60% off, and make sure you use our promo code MESSY so they know we sent you.
That part for me, that when I was diagnosed, I remember being in my doctor's office and her telling me, that is the moment that I dropped it all. Because I knew that I couldn't do it by myself, that I had to like lean on doctors. And I was like, I don't know, I've never walked this path. And and then she's saying things that are scary, like, this is an aggressive cancer. This is it's rare that you would have it all over both breasts. Like, this is one that we have to fight now, and we don't know how fast it's growing, but it most likely is growing very fast and very rapidly. So we need to move fast. And so I was like hearing everything and just going like, I was taking what she was saying in, but with the front of my brain, what I was thinking was like, oh, okay, just you like, there's no room in my life for anything other than listening to instructions and going forward. So in that moment, the thing that I was proud of was that if like hearing you, I've actually never thought about this and said like until you just said that, like what the thing that came up in me as a child that I was proud of in that moment was the ability to be brave in the face of something that was really scary. Like if I was brave in the moment of like, oh, I'm going to get hit if I say this, then right now in that moment of being diagnosed, I was like, okay, like I know how to, I can deal with surgeries. I mean, I may feel horrible and scared and I don't know what's going to happen to me if I'm going to, go through all this treatment and look different, but I can do it. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you had how old was your son at that point?
Yeah, he had just turned 2.
Oh, I can't, it makes me emotional for you. I cannot imagine what that moment was like. It's also must have felt like the rug being pulled out from under you, because like, I think you had spoken that you had a mammogram and testing that all had come back negative.
Yeah, I did the things that we're all as women supposed to do. I did the mammogram, I did the ultrasound, I did genetic testing, and everything came back completely clear. And it was
You're not BRCA?
No, not
Wow.
BRCA. But also, it's important to note, BRCA it's a bit amazing since Angelina Jolie wrote that article, right, for New York Times that like let everyone know about BRCA. And that has, without a doubt, saved countless of lives. I have learned since being diagnosed that there are so many other breast cancer genes to know about and to test for. And because of BRCA being so well known, that's actually what the doctors usually focus on. Like when I went to get my MRI, the doctor was like, wait, why are you getting this? And did you test positive for BRCA? And I was like, no, but I took the lifetime risk assessment test at my doctor's office. And he was like, oh, okay. And he knew about it. But I was so surprised because I'd never heard about it until my doctor did the test on me. And it was like, it's a free online test where you just take this questionnaire that says, like, how old were you when you had your first period? How old were you when you had your first child? What's your family history? Do you have dense breast? It's very simple, and it gives you a score, and anything above 20% is considered high risk. And I was 37.3%. So I went in and got the MRI, and then after that, it was like off to the races.
Well, it's changed so much since me. I was 2008. And like you had to get an MRI. Like that was it. And I actually started a foundation called Right Action for Women that gave free MRIs to women who were at risk. at high risk. So, but
Well,
like
that's
I,
incredible.
but that was so long ago, and like, so much has changed. So it's kind of amazing.
The number one thing that's changed is insurance. So like it's amazing that you were like providing this for free, because when you said before it was mandatory to get that, well, things have changed. And actually when I was diagnosed, like my doctor was telling me that insurance companies were really pushing for the high risk number to be starting at 30%, which would make it
Oh,
harder for women. Right. So I don't know if they've passed that yet or not. But I don't think so, or she would have told me.
Well, so when you speak of that moment of it, sort of having an opportunity to remove this armor, right? You knew you could be brave in the face of the surgeries and the physical things you were going to have to face, but was this removal of this armor a positive thing, where a time for you to sort of allow other people to help you? You seem like somebody that was like always somebody that would probably take care of things on your own and not really want the need of other people. But I could imagine that vulnerability turning into sort of another power that you could find.
I leaned on my husband, who was at that point, not my husband, but we were a family because we already had my son. But I leaned on him, but I didn't want to lean on really anyone else, like my family. I just was like, because I didn't. My first thing was, we don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. But not because I was embarrassed or ashamed. It was because I could not deal with other people's fears and being like, oh, I'm so sad. I'm so worried. I was like, gosh, like I can't deal with all of your emotions right now. And so the vulnerability actually came from this moment, and as you guys know, like when you get a diagnosis like this, there's all the thoughts come at once. So it's not like, which was the first thought? It was like everything at once. And one of the feelings I had was like, oh my gosh, I know this sounds strange because it feels like but like how the thoughts you have aren't like as long as I'm about to say, but like they're just a feeling that what that feeling is. And the feeling was, oh my God, I've spent so much of my life being so hard on myself, like not forgiving myself, where other people forgive themselves so easily and move on. And some people make the biggest public mistakes and they're like, well, you know what? I'm a human. Let's just keep going. And I just was never like that. And so anytime that anybody had like privately or publicly been mad at me or judged me or tried to tear me down, like I can tell you that I was doing worse to myself. And that the thought was like, oh my gosh, like how much time do I have left? Like, wait, I can go back and do it better. Like, can you just give me more time? Like, I wish I could just do it better. Like, please. Like, it was just like, I thought about like how I'm like, what was I thinking? I should have dropped it the moment I had a son. Wait, I should have dropped it the moment I got my first, taste of success because I deserved it. Like what? Like it was just all of this frustration and regret that just like poured over me. And then immediately at that same time was like, nope, forgive yourself right now. Forgive it now because I'm not going to go another day like this because it can all go away in a heartbeat. And I was like, nope, nope, nope. And also at the same time, I was like, I saw a physical mountain and I was like, I thought about like just like that massive backpack that people wear that have like their tents and their pots and pans and everything they need. And I was like, I cannot climb this mountain with all of this stuff on me. I got to drop it like right there. I just leave it alone, leave it there. I deserve to survive, which means I deserve to like be in this world and to forgive myself and ask for forgiveness and receive forgiveness and give forgiveness. And that's where all of the vulnerability came from. And only because of those moments and that ability to drop all of the armor, did I realize like, oh, this makes me stronger than ever. Like being vulnerable and showing my underbelly and being like, okay, like this is me without any armor. It allowed me to connect with people differently and allowed me to be kinder to myself because, I myself was like looking in the mirror going like, yes, I have this armor. So I may think this way about me, but that's okay. I'm just going to keep going. And the vulnerability truly is the thing that has given me more strength because I've connected with more people and more women specifically. And I have, and in turn, you get this like massive amount of support, and that it becomes your shield and not, your own armor.
Yes. Yes. I relate to that so much. I've had to go through my own sort of reckoning in my life and looking back at times. And I too have been somebody that's been incredibly hard on myself. And being able to kind of look back in moments of my life and have compassion and know I was doing the best I could in each moment, like that forgiveness has been the most healing thing because I carried a lot of shame around having MS, around what it meant that I was somebody that had this, what it would take away from me and would it take away from my creativity, all of those types of things. And so once I sort of dropped that shame and just sort of allowed myself to just own who I am and what I come with and how I come, that vulnerability, like you're speaking of, allowed me to have such deeper relationships to everything in my life. My family, my children, my work, everything. So I hear it in your words and I'm very inspired by them of just how you were able to, like you said, forgive and allow and see the beauty on the other side of it and another way that you can go through your life still feeling strong and still feeling proud and still feeling ready for whatever face you have to face without feeling like you are, like we said, bracing for impact.
Yeah. It's really like healing for me to hear you both talk about the same internal feelings that I've had, because when you look at other people in this business and they're doing so well, you feel like, I mean, you just don't realize that other people are having all of those doubts and insecurities and just beating themselves up so much. And I feel that like just knowing that is really comforting.
Absolutely. We're all a mess inside. We're all messy.
That is true. That is true.
So I didn't realize you went through 5 surgeries through this journey.
Mhm.
All while being a really young mother with 2 small children. What for anyone else that might be, we have a lot of listeners that are trying to figure out sort of how best to build a support system around them while they're going through health challenges or things like that. Who did you lean on throughout all this? I know you said you leaned on your husband John a lot, but like how did you build the support system that you needed to still be able to show up as a mother and a wife while facing these incredible challenges?
The truth is, I started asking anybody that I felt close with who was really direct. I needed people in my life to not sugarcoat things. I needed them to not make it about themselves. I needed just help in getting through this. I needed people to just tell me what I was going into. And the first few people that I reached out to, Tig Notaro, the stand-up comedian who had talked about her own breast
Yeah.
cancer.
I talked to
And
her too. There's like a whole little
Mhm.
community of breast cancer survivors that I talk to. And I feel like someone asked me to talk to you at some point. Maybe not. I don't know. But
I think it was Clea Shearer.
oh, Clea, yeah, of course. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's really important to have that community because we're really fucking honest, man.
Yeah. I mean, do you know, it was my friend, Stephanie, who's, the head of casting at Fox. Stephanie,
She's
Jamie.
my best
I
friend.
know.
Yeah.
Best. She's amazing. And
She's
she's
the
like
best.
that, very direct and like gets shit done.
Yep.
And I had told her and my agent, Jamie Feld, and I just told them, not even thinking about like asking for help, because we were all supposed to get together. And I was like, I'm sorry, I can't. I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I'm okay. I just, and then being who they are, they were like, can we help you? Can we connect you with somebody? And I was like, no, I'm fine. I don't need anything. And then eventually I was like, wait, I do. like, because I wasn't talking to that many people about it, and I didn't want to inundate myself. And so they did say, they're like, okay, there is one person, and this woman named Jessica St. Clair, and she's an actress and she's amazing. And I didn't know her, and I was connected with her, and she became my guiding light because she had gone through breast cancer 10 years before. And she was going to be very, very clear with me about what I was going into. But at the same time, she was extremely hopeful. She was like, hey, any symptom that you're going to have from this, because I would be going into either a medical menopause, which is, medicine that will shut down my hormone production, or a surgical menopause, which is what I ended up going through. And she's like, any symptom we have from menopause, like, I can help you through it. And it's going to be better than ever. Trust me. And I was like, okay, all right. So that at least there's a path forward. But I would call her whenever I like needed help with certain medications, things that, I wasn't even being told by like doctors and stuff. So I leaned on her, but I was going towards people who felt very strong and knowledgeable and were going to be good pillars for me to rest my back against. And after my double mastectomy, and I had expanders in, and your breasts look very different before the final reconstruction.
Those are my favorite part.
Yeah, there was. I don't know. Like when you saw your expanders for the first time, were you in shock? Because that was the only second time I ever cried during that whole journey before I came out.
Yeah, those are, people don't understand, like, expanders are way worse. They're just way worse, right, Olivia?
Yeah.
Like, they're so heavy. I always said it feels like a big fat man being run over by a truck. It's like the worst thing ever.
They're hard. They are like, they make your breast look square shaped. They're heavy, like you said. They're so cumbersome. But for people who are listening to this who are about to go down this journey, the reason why some people choose to have expanders in is because if you go, it's called direct to implant when you do a double mastectomy, and then your doctor's there puts the implants in right away. At that point, they're gauging what size you may want to be because, you just had everything out. There's not a settling of your body yet. And so if you do expanders, it gives your body time to heal so that you can see what things are going to look like and make the decision on what size implant you want. And so, and oftentimes, not oftentimes, all the time when you have a double mastectomy, your breast will have to be and look larger than you would normally get if you wanted like smaller breasts through an augmentation because they have to fill up your skin because the tissue is gone. And so, and the fat's gone from there. So yeah, that was really difficult. But Jessica Seinfeld had connected me to somebody who I texted with her once and I only called her once. And I never spoke to her again other than like thanking her later. But in that moment, I don't even remember because I was still on drugs, all the pain medication. And I remember just being so devastated and crying a cry I had never cried before in my life. I was like, oh my, I just thought, you remember when I said, I was like, whatever I look like, I can get through and I can do this and it'll be fine. But I was like, how am I going to dress this body? Like, because like as Christina's saying, the expanders are like so different. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I just was like, I'll never be able to wear a bathing suit, not even like a one piece, because everything, I was like, my breast looks square. And it was just, but that's part of the journey. That's like, that is what they're supposed to look like. But I remember I called her crying and crying. And I don't really remember the conversation because, like, again, I was on pain meds, but I remember her getting me to calm down. And then that was it. And like, those are those moments and those people that you connect with, like those are the people that really helped me through it. Because I didn't want to talk with people who were just going to comfort me. The only comfort I needed was somebody who was going to help me march forward. Wait, one other thing that I don't know if you guys experience this with your diagnoses, but one thing, if I was to give advice on people helping people through any kind of huge, health issue and ailment, is don't bright side the situation. Like when people are like, you know what? You're going to be okay. You're going to be fine. You're going to be okay. You know what? You're going to get through this. I'm like, you don't know. You don't know. So don't tell me that. Don't talk to me about how I'm going to get through it, because right now I'm facing something where my doctor was saying, this is aggressive. This is life threatening. You got to move fast. Like, you don't know what that feels like. I don't need to just think about like, oh, it's okay. It's okay. Because when you bright side the situation, you are diminishing how serious it is. And then the other thing I would say is when, oh my gosh, I had somebody say to me when they found out, somebody close was like, you're going to be fine, because my wife worked with a judge years ago, and the judge had cancer and the judge is fine. I was like, what? I was so angry about that. So like, why are you bringing up somebody who I don't even know, who's a judge, who's like clearly older than my age at the time? And I was like, what are you like? When people try to compare yours to other people's, like, you know what? I know so and they are doing great. And you're like, stop it.
My favorite thing to say to people who say that is, fuck you.
I mean, that's exactly how I felt.
That's kind of our show, is that I say fuck you a lot.
Yeah.
Because I get very annoyed with people that, we have a diagnosis of something that is with us forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And so fuck you. No, I'm sorry. I don't need your tincture. I always say, I don't need your tincture or your holy water. Get out of my face.
Support for Messy comes from Jones Road Beauty. I feel like makeup lately is about chasing perfection, and I just want to look natural. I want my skin to look healthy and fresh, not caked or covered up. Well, enter Jones Road Beauty. All of their products are, by the way, good for your skin. Every formula is packed with skin-loving ingredients. It nourishes your skin instead of clogging or caking. And when you put it on, it looks and feels natural, not like you're not wearing makeup at all. Their formulas are clean and high-performing. They have a wonderful array of products. By the way, this is from the celebrity makeup artist, Bobbi Brown. She wanted to design makeup to actually enhance your skin instead of masking it. So I personally love their Beauty Miracle Balm. You can use it in a million ways. A highlighter, just for a little bit of a glow. I use it with their Just Enough Tinted Moisturizer, which is a lightweight, non-comedogenic formula that smooths an even skin tone with just a little touch of coverage. So, it hides the redness, but it looks natural. It feels amazing. And then they have a new product called the Shadow Stick. So this is a creamy, high pigment eyeshadow stick designed for real life. You can swipe it on and blend it with your fingers, no brush needed. They have 8 universal matte neutral shades. It's amazing. So if you want makeup that brings out your natural glow instead of hiding it, Jones Road Beauty is the way to go. For a limited time, our listeners are getting a free shimmer face oil on their first purchase when they use code MESSY at checkout. Just head to jonesroadbeauty.com and use code MESSY at checkout. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. I mean, people obviously are well-intentioned, but
Yes, I know.
But talking about this stuff is important because I think it also educates people on how to be supportive. It's like one thing you're talking to people that are in the position that we have all been in, but then you're also talking to people like it can be overwhelming and you want to say the right things. And I myself, I think, have fallen prey. So I've had MS for 25 years, and there's been moments where I want to say to myself, and I know you've talked about this, Olivia, like everything happens for a reason, and I have this for a reason. And are there things that I can recognize that it has given me? Absolutely. But sometimes it's like when you are given something life-changing, like you want to make sense of it, you want to feel like it's not in vain, but also sometimes life is just full of really difficult challenges and really incredible pain, and there's no rhyme or reason. There's no rhyme or reason why some people survive and some people don't. I've seen people go down the very same paths and have two very different outcomes. So I praise you, Olivia, for being so open and outspoken, especially so close to the journey of while you've been in this journey, because I think it can be very overwhelming to have like a reckoning with these feelings, right? And like you could feel like this is how I'm supposed to go through it, but there is no right or wrong when it comes to dealing with something like this.
Yeah, you're 100% right. When people say everything happens for a reason, I never like that because, like what you were just saying, some people make it through and some people don't, and everything is different. So you're like to tell somebody who didn't make it through and their loved ones to be like, everything happens for a reason. They're no longer here because there's a reason, and you're just like, what is because also I think that people say everything happens for a reason the wrong way because everything does happen for a reason. There is a consequence to something. So the reason why this thing happened is because of X. It doesn't mean that it's all laid out with this greater plan that's all here to work out for us because it doesn't work out for some people. And I feel like that it's important to know that because for me it puts the power back into my hands. It's like, this is like, so, okay, if it happens for a reason, then nothing I do is going to matter. So what do I just, Jesus take the wheel? Like, no, I'm going to do this myself. And it's like, that goes along in the whole bright side thing. But, when you were saying like people are good intentioned, like I understand both of your feelings, the fuck you and the, it's good to talk about it. And I feel that that's why, I've never talked about what I feel people should be doing, like to help people going through a big diagnosis. But those are the things I'm like, gosh, I've always thought to myself, I'd want people to hear that because maybe it will help somebody else going through it. Because it does matter. The things that people say to you in the beginning, it's like you have to hold a lot of people's feelings and their thoughts and and even though it's like, it just, people are good intentioned, but I think I think the important thing to first and foremost know is that this isn't happening to them. So first clock that, this is not you don't have to go through the surgeries. You don't have to wake up with pain. You don't have to look over your shoulder for the rest of your life like I do. So before you speak on that, maybe just take a beat and think about, what exactly are you offering as advice and help?
Yeah, maybe it's not even about telling those people what to say, but empowering the person in the position that you've been in of how you can advocate for yourself, what you can say to somebody else, of being like, you know what, that's not landing right, and feeling okay saying that, or saying, you know what I could need right now, or you know what I would need right now. I think that's what we're trying to do here too a lot, is just give people a voice, make sure that they still have some autonomy and control over what's happening to them, what's being said to them, that you can feel so out of control when you're living with a disease. You could feel like so much is not in your hands. But I think giving somebody some of that power and being able to advocate for themselves is a true gift. And I know that you've given to so many women. There's a reason you were, Times Woman of the Year in 2025. Congratulations on that, because you've used your platform to not only save lives, but teach women how to speak up for themselves. And that's huge.
Well, that really means a lot. That was my number one goal, was to help other women in any way. And especially for them to know the lifetime risk assessment test, to help save lives. And so to see that my story has helped so many people. When I was very nervous about doing it, I was like, I was like, am I ready to take this on? Also, it's interesting. We're just talking about other people, like as much as I want to be like, oh no, other people's opinions don't matter. And they don't. But at the same time, it's energy that you're taking on. And I just felt that there, other people, I don't know if you guys heard this, or especially Christina with going through breast cancer, but my God, so many people like that I would end up talking to in our business. So I started talking to more people. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, you're going to be unhireable." I'm like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, because like they just don't look at you as like a woman anymore now that you'll lose your breast." And I was just like, and I that's not what I ever thought was going to happen. And so then, I mean, I did want people to be honest with me, but there are some things where you're like, I don't know if that's a reality. And so like maybe don't put that part, like tell me the physical journey of it, but the way that I'm going
Right.
to like feel and interact with other people and how they're going to look at me, like that's not helpful because then I started feeling those things. I like that I never would have. Once someone puts it in your head, I started feeling like, oh God, am I not a woman? When I had my ovaries removed, I was like, somebody said to me, just prepare for not feeling like a woman anymore. And I was like, why are everybody talking to me like this? Why is everybody telling me, because I have breast cancer, that I won't feel like a woman anymore? In fact, I feel more like a woman than I ever have. I feel braver and more courageous, and I feel like I as a mother, I'm stronger than ever, and I feel like being a woman is so much more powerful than being anything else on this earth. Being a mother, being a woman, just in general, being and a mother to anything, mother to your dogs and your cats, and anything that you have to take care of. Like we put other people and animals first and foremost, and to then now put yourself at the front of the line is like the most woman thing you can do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had my ovaries out too and my fallopian tubes, by the way. So, and this was all before I had a child.
Oh wow. Wow. So
So,
that yeah, I had my
yeah,
uterus taken out too, but you needed your uterus obviously. So then did you freeze eggs or what did you
I needed
do?
it. I was 36. I was 36 when I got cancer, and because I was BRCA, it's really important to get your get that all taken out because I had a friend who passed away who had had breast cancer and didn't take out her ovaries or her fallopian tubes, and she was BRCA. So it was really important to really listen to that part of it, and I think it's imperative to
The
yeah.
people don't know that when you have BRCA, your chance of getting cancer in your ovaries is the same amount of getting in your breast. And if you
Wow, I did not know
yes,
that.
and if people had read the whole entire article that Angelina Jolie had written, she talks about the chance of cancer getting into your ovaries with BRCA. But she actually says that there was a more complicated surgery to have your ovaries removed, so she opted to not do that. When I took out my ovaries because the medication from having to shut down the hormone production in my ovaries was debilitating. And then I was like, you know what? While you're in there, let's mitigate my chances of getting cancer in my uterus or my fallopian tubes. Just take it all out. And like I was like, let me just take out like everything. Like I would just take out. I'm like, why like live with these these things that I don't need? Just they're going to become null and void at some point, anyways.
Well, yeah, and I woke up from my surgery really pissed off, sweating, and crying, right? Like it was so
Hmm.
funny. Like it was immediate. But then it
Wow.
was like I started taking HRT and I was fine. And I've been fine since 2008.
So you didn't have hormonal cancer?
No, no, triple neg, babe, triple neg.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And you guys have explained that to people about triple neg
Not,
already?
not, no, we haven't because we didn't, we talk about MS. That's kind of what we talk about. And
Well, teach me, educate me. What is that?
Mm. So there's different types of breast cancer. There's hormonal and there's triple negative. So hormonal is they test the tumor to see if there's estrogen, progesterone, and HER2. And if it's hormonal, it means that they know how to mitigate the chance of it coming back, which means starve the cancer cells of hormones because that is what it feeds on. And so then they shut down the hormone production in your ovaries, and you shut down the testosterone in your body that turns into estrogen. And you go into menopause, a medical menopause if you're doing the medicine, and then surgical if you do the surgery like me. Triple negative is the one where it's a bit scarier because they don't know what makes that cancer grow. So they don't know how to starve it out. And so that's when you just really have to be careful of and always be checking up, which is why people who haven't gone through a big diagnosis like we all have changed. It's not just about getting through the treatment and getting through the surgeries. It's like it's forever.
Yeah. I mean, there's it's you before and you after, whether no matter what you face, you're forever changed. And like you said, it's about you sort of start to streamline and fine tune the people and the voices and the tribe around you. And that could be one of, the gifts of it. Briefly switching over though, I want to talk about you being a mother because I love to see you with your kids, and it's just so clear how much you love to be a mom. It's really beautiful. I really love to see the joy and the pride in your face with your beautiful children. It's really special of you to share because I think it's just, not a lot of people are generous with that type of stuff, and it really it's really special to see.
Oh, that means so much. I actually like I love sharing them because it just I feel like it's like they're just kids are just so pure, and I share their like I will show my children's faces up until they're like 2 when they start to look like who they're going to look like and they're not babies anymore.
Yeah.
And until then it's like I'm like, and I always think like, oh, I want to post more. I'm not uh I'm uh I just feel like it's exhausting to figure out how to post things, Like I'm experiencing life so much that I don't always think to post, but it means a lot that you like those videos.
No, it always feels like it just seems in a moment that you want to connect and you want to share. It never feels manufactured. It never feels anything but completely genuine. And I think I feel you on sort of like the stress of social media and like how to post. And like I've to myself been like, fuck it. When I want to, I want to. When I don't, like it, there shouldn't be sort of rules around it. So yours feels very authentic and genuine. And I love the way you share with your kids. It's really special.
Thank you so much. They're just like, I was never someone who like dreamt of like what my wedding would look like or even getting married. I never thought about like, do I want kids or do I not want kids? I've always loved kids, but I never thought like a calling to be a mother. But once I found out I was pregnant with my son, I was like, I just knew like, okay, he's like that he's going to be in the world, and I'm so excited. And it just felt like the right moment, the right everything. And then, and he was just like magic, just like little magic that just came into our lives, and was just the perfect little boy. I mean, my he's like identical to my husband. Like he's just like his little twin. I had heard something a long time ago that obviously don't know if it really is true, but it seems to apply to us. Like they say that the your first child will look like whichever parent needed them the most. And yeah, and he came out looking just like John. And John had already.
I have chills all over my body. That's so crazy.
Isn't that so sweet? And like, and he had already gone through such a huge journey, and so it was like, I mean, that as soon as he was born, like he's like just staring at him and looking at him, and I mean, and I know that that's what happens to so many parents, but I was looking at him and I was like, oh, I'm watching a wound close up in real time. And it was just the best thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then
that's so beautiful.
Yeah, I thought it was such and when I heard it, I was like, oh, that's us. That's what's going on. And then my daughter was born via surrogate. And I just couldn't be more grateful that there are people in the world who are willing to give that gift. And our surrogate, we're super close with still, and her family. And we have them come out and see us with their kids. And I can't imagine like without her not being in our lives. But my daughter, I meant the surrogate not being in our lives, and my daughter is so funny. Like, I've always heard how people are like, oh, they come out who they are. And I actually don't even know if I really kind of grasp that, because as I said earlier, like, I'm such a product of what happened to me in my life. But man, oh man, she is a screamer from day one. Day one. And he really wasn't at all. And these are also things that I don't say in front of them, because I got some great advice. Somebody said, when you compare, they compete. So I'd never say like, oh, look, he's eating his food, or he likes this, or God, even like, oh, she's a screamer and he wasn't. I just never, even if it's like, if it's a more positive to one and I'm only saying it in front of that one, just don't ever do that. But to you guys, I will say she is the screamer. He is not. She is like really capable physically, and he is very verbal from the jump. And he gets the book smarts from John's side, and she gets the physicality from me.
Wow. Genetics are wild, huh?
They are, yeah, truly.
That's so crazy. I only have the one, so I've got it's all me all up in there. And
Yeah.
that's why she won't let me take any pictures of her, because she's got like a septum piercing, and she's like so completely not.
She's too cool for us all.
She's too cool for school. Yeah, I know.
That's right.
Well,
with our little Sadie.
With you as her mother, I have no doubt that she's the coolest.
Word.
She's weird.
She's awesome.
She's
awesome.
Isn't it interesting when you, like, as mothers, you're like, wow, I have to put these children into the world, and they've got to grow up to be like in society and be kind and thoughtful and interesting, and have like you want them to have their own hobbies and interests. And this is what I want for my children. All I want is for them to grow up to be kind and thoughtful and confident and successful and live at home forever.
Yeah, exactly.
So if
exactly.
that is a mix, then I would love that. Although I did hear that Michael B. Jordan, I think that I heard that maybe I'm making this up. Maybe you guys should look before you like keep this in, but I heard that Michael B. Jordan lives with his parents still, and he's just like, I love them and I'm working so much, and that's the time I get to see them. And I was like, well,
that's so sweet.
Yeah. If it's true.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lived with them like in 2015.
Oh, he did? Okay. All right, Olivia, before we let you go, we like to play this fun little game at the end of each episode where all we're going to ask you is for 5 of your favorite movies. Don't think too hard about it. The first 5 that just come to mind that you have been influential in your life, that you could watch a million times, and Christina's going to sort of take these movies and tell you something with that.
Okay. Love this. Father of the Bride 1 and 2, Little Miss Sunshine, Shawshank Redemption.
That's on mine.
Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
Oh, great list. I love it. Okay, while she does her thing, Olivia, when does your Friends and Neighbors premiere?
April 3rd, 2nd season.
April 3rd. I cannot wait.
Oh, I'm so excited to see what you think of it.
I can't wait. And you took like a brief, I loved your quote when you're like, I'm not going to announce I'm going to retire. I'm not like a Dodger, which I thought was hilarious. But you took sort of a break from acting. Did you feel like you just sort of needed to kind of separate yourself from the business for a moment? You weren't feeling as fulfilled. What was that? What was the impetus behind that?
I had gone through really horrible postpartum anxiety, which a lot of people don't talk about. I think I was prepared for depression. I didn't even know there was postpartum anxiety. I was just taken down by that. And then shortly after I was coming out of that, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And the impetus to walk away from being in front of the camera was that I just didn't think that I could take the stress of exposing myself anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when I was offered this show, it was Jamie, my agent, who I had told already, like, I don't want to act anymore. So please don't put me up for anything. Like, I don't need you to, pitch me or anything. And then she called and was like, okay, I know what you said, but legally I have to give you an offer. And then she told me it's like this John Hamm, Jonathan Tropper Apple TV show. And they said you only have to sign on for one season, which, as you know, you have to sign on for like 6 usually.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, I read it and I thought, you know what? I think this is what I was waiting for. I just was wanting something that felt different and new. And it's a character I hadn't played before. And then I'm only back for the second and more seasons now because after a few months of shooting, Jonathan Tropper sat me down and was like, would you consider like staying on longer? And I waited till after the season was done to make my decision. But I'm very happy that I've stayed on.
Good. Well, lucky us too that you're on. Can't wait to see more of you.
Thank you.
And you get to work with Fugly. Sorry.
I know.
Work with Fugly.
I can't help it when I hear about him. I think of him just being so fugly. It's not fair. It's not fair, Marsden.
I know. And his personality.
Oh, God. Terrible man. Just an awful human being. I think I have something. I don't know, guys. I'm having one of them off days, but okay. I think that you always wanted to be the hero and the contemplator, and no one really let you. It was like you felt like the world was kind of pushing you down, and you just wanted to be the freaking hero, man. You just wanted to be heard and do something right in this world. I don't know, something like that.
Well, she is.
That's really special to hear you say that. It feels like even to think about being the hero, it was like, yeah, like doing something special. It's interesting because I never thought about, people are like, this is my purpose or my purpose. I just was like, I want to be a good friend and a good daughter and now a good mother and wife. But it wasn't until being diagnosed that I was like, oh wait, this is, if I leave the earth having made it better for women and saving lives, like that makes me feel really, really, really good. And so yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That's what I'm getting from your stuff, like just the little girl who was kind of told you're not enough, and but you are.
Aw, thank you so much. That means so much.
And you have more work to do. Well, Olivia, thank you so much for coming on Messy and speaking with us just so openly and honestly and beautifully. I'm an even more fan. We've crossed paths so many times, but we've never actually had to have a conversation. So I'm so happy to just get to know you and talk to you.
It's just such an amazing experience to be able to sit and talk with you both. And I've wanted to be able to become friends with both of you. Christine and I met years ago.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm talking about. We've definitely talked.
Yeah, for sure. So anytime that you guys want to get lunch or something, I will come and hang out.
Would love it. Next time I'm in LA, I'll text Steph and Jamie and we'll make a lunch for us.
That would be so great.
And I'm always here,
So
and I'm
fun.
not always like this. I'm not always laying down during my podcast, but I'm having a bad MS day. And when you have a bad MS day, you can't move and you've got to lay down. So I apologize for that because it seems unprofessional.
That's okay. You still did it.
Yeah, you showed up and you're here. I mean, I'm lying down all the time. Truly, I lie down. I just want to go back into bed. I love my bed. It's my favorite place in the world.
Yeah.
I just love being in bed. I can do as long as I'm lying down, I'm like, I can get a lot done.
Yeah.
Absolutely. A lot can be done lying down. All right. Well, before we let you go, we just pull a random card from a deck, and I read a quote. Sometimes it's pertaining to the guest or the conversation. We'll see, and we'll leave you with that.
Great.
Life's not about expecting, hoping, and wishing. It's about doing, being, and becoming. It's about the choices you've just made and the ones you're about to make. It's about the things you choose to say today. It's about what you're going to do after you finish hearing this.
Wow.
Wow. That's so profound because it's exactly what we've been talking about.
Yep. It usually does.
These cards are crazy, Olivia.
I want those cards.
It's always right on it. It's right on it.
I literally bought this box from like a shabby chic store 100 years ago, and it's full of all these cards, and I just pull one each week.
That's amazing.
I know. So fun.
Well, I'm going to keep that in mind as I go about my day. I'm actually on my way to the Children's Hospital to see and visit with the pediatric cancer patients. So
yeah, go spread some love.
Yeah, it means a lot to me to be there with them. So I'll send your love as well. They'll be very excited.
Yes.
This show is executive produced by Christina Applegate, Jamie-Lynn Sigler, and Allison Bresnick. Our audio engineer is Josh Windisch.
And if you want to show us some love, don't forget to leave the show a rating or review. Hi, it's Jamie. Thanks for listening. I just want to let you know I am a paid spokesperson for Novartis, but this podcast is independent from my collaboration with Novartis.